Now let us continue with our journey to the West. When finishing these words, Choje gave the oral transmission of the 37 practices of Bodhisattvas and briefly introduced the merit of this teaching. He said that to sum up all the essentials of the Buddha Dharma, it is the 37 practices of the Bodhisattvas. Anyone who sees, hears, recites, or practices this teaching will be free of illness, gain longevity, abundant possessions, and far-reaching fame, and whatever they wish in this life, and those wishes will be fulfilled. When this life comes to an end, they will easily be reborn in the Pure Land of Sukhavati. From then on, they will be free from any physical or mental suffering and solely enjoy unfathomable peace and bliss. Phuntsok Rinpoche started to expound on the merit and the qualities of the 37 practices. I believe I've taught on this particular teaching for various times, and the longest one I've taught was beginning from the beginning of 2022, which is between April to July, and I taught on the commentary of the 37 practices of Bodhisattvas for 53 lessons. Mainly, I taught on it from the perspective of that particular commentary. That's the most extensive teaching I've given in my life. So I really hope that you can also study this. The transcripts and the materials are now available. Phuntsok Rinpoche also, when he was giving teachings, instead of thinking that Phuntsok Rinpoche is giving this teaching to the Americans, you should be thinking that Phuntsok Rinpoche is directly giving the teaching to me right now, and in this way, to listen to this class is meaningful. Rinpoche continued to say that I believe that what you truly want is peace and happiness in this and all future lifetime, no longer experiencing any suffering. The primary goal of my journey to the West is to try to help more beings relieve this suffering and obtain happiness and ease. We do have the same goal, and now my giving you the oral transmission of this particular teaching in Tibetan is the best way to achieve that goal. As long as you listen with devotion, even if you do not understand its meaning, simply hearing its words will bring you immeasurable benefits. So I really hope all of you can take the 37 practices of a Bodhisattva as your routine recitation, maybe once per day, per week, or even a month. That would still be very beneficial. Ever since the flourishing of the 37 practices of Bodhisattvas in the Tibetan regions, it has been equally practiced by all schools in Tibetan Buddhism, including Nyingmapas, Kagyupas, Kandampas, Jonampas, and Shakyapas. Initially, whenever we look at the different schools and their studies and system, they're very different. But when it comes to the 37 practices, all the schools would study it in the same way. They all attach great importance to this practice. What is the key feature of this practice? It encompasses all the essential practices of the Buddha and his followers, including all lineage holders in India, Tibet, and other regions. Its core and ultimate intent are to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and to refrain from harming any sentient beings at any time. This is really the key, the pith instruction given by Phuntsok Rinpoche. I really hope that you can write it down. You can really remember it. It would be more than enough for your spiritual practice if you have comprehend and grasp the meaning of this text. Many of the great masters of the West also propagated this teaching quite widely, and it's been translated into many different languages as well. If not, you may invite other lamas to explain its meaning. I am joining my palm palms in front of my heart to pray that all of you can practice and actualize this precious teaching. Phuntsok Rinpoche is saying that may all of you who wish to tame your mind, may Shantideva grant you blessings, and may you receive the blessings from Shantideva to train and tame your mind. Well, in our previous class, I also wore this particular garment that I made, and today I thought that since you won't be able to see me, should I still wear it? I wasn't too sure, but still, it's good. There are a few people here, so I'm wearing it as a sign of good tendril. Nowadays, in different online selling platforms where people would wear their products, and they would be selling their products by saying that, oh, look, it looks really good on me, so it looks it is a good product, so on and so forth. So I think it's good. Sometimes I do these kinds of things to entertain you so that you don't get too tired listening to classes. Anyhow, this part is about my journal of I made a garment. To me, traveling with Ijinoru was entirely different from my traveling alone. Every time I accompanied him to travel abroad, I would take a few personal belongings as I could, be they clothes or other items. In my memory, wherever I traveled to, I usually just carry very little things, my personal belongings. During this trip to the U.S., while we stayed in Boulder, I found there was a big day-night temperature difference. It was a little cold in the morning and evening, but during the day, the sunlight was very intense. Given such weather, I felt the need for a garment to keep me warm in the morning and evening. Well, it was very difficult to buy the monastic clothes and robes in the United States, unlike in India or Nepal. One afternoon, when I had some free time, I went to a few malls around Boulder trying to find a proper garment that I could wear. But that was of no avail. With no other choice, I decided to buy a piece of cloth to make one garment. Again, saffron fabric was rarely seen as I searched in so many stores. When I finally found a fabric of proper color, I took it to a tailor's shop, only to be told that the tailor had never made a monastic garment before, so had no idea how to do it. Luckily, I used to make clothes on my own, so I trimmed the clothes at the shop and then taught the tailor how to seam it. Through our cooperation, the coat was soon made. It fitted me very well, and the size was just perfect. That coat served its purpose well during all following stops throughout our journey. The cloth was actually, the material is excellent, and so even till this day, it's pretty good. There's only one little tear. Although it's been 30 years, the color has barely faded. I don't see much fading, maybe just a little bit. And its shape is the same as when it was just made. It's just that I gained some weight, so it's a bit snug, but I could still wear it. However, this year after my operation, my weight went back. I got my weight of 30 years ago back, so now I can still wear it. Of course, compared to Ijinoru and his Dharma activities, this is something very insignificant and not worth mentioning at all. However, as I write up to this point, this incident comes to mind, so I went ahead and included it. When Phuntsok Rinpoche was at Boulder, and then in the later part of the trips, I wore this garment to attend many of his Dharma teachings as well as empowerments. And till this day, I cherish this garment, and whenever I wear it, I remember that time. So while I write up to this point, I wrote this down, but it's a little bit warm, so let me take it off for now. This is also a piece of garment from back then as well. Now, farewell to the Vajradhatu community at Boulder. On June 29th, Yijino met all the managing members of Vajradhatu at Boulder, as well as some great masters from other Dharma centers, give blessings and had conversations with them. So not just the managing members of Vajradhatu, but also members and teachers from Zikar Kongtrul Rinpoche's center as well. So on the last day, Phuntsok Rinpoche addressed the group of people in such a way. He said that more unique than other places, Boulder can be called the second land of Shambhala. I consider it a truly auspicious connection for me to have arrived here and shared the Dharma teachings with each of you. The trip brings me immense joy. When I was in the land of Tibet, I was hoping to come to U.S. This time, it is through the kindness and warm-hearted assistance of great masters who currently live in India and U.S., including Penna Rinpoche, Gyatso Rinpoche, Gyaltsen Rinpoche, and because of those connections, he was able to come to United States. He said, as well as the favorable conditions created by their Dharma centers, that my trip to the West was made possible. When I heard that there is a Buddhist organization called Vajradhatu, my heart was immediately filled with great joy. In the invitation of Phuntsok Rinpoche, under the bottom of the invitation, they are signed by various centers, and one of which is Vajradhatu. So Phuntsok Rinpoche, after noticing it, he said that, what is the name of this center? It's Vajradhatu, and maybe because Rinpoche had certain kinds of special connection to Vajradhatu, I remembered this particular name, Vajradhatu. Vajradhatu is Banza Dhatu. Banza is the Tibetan pronunciation of Vajra. So Phuntsok Rinpoche kept on saying it's Vajradhatu. Vajradhatu, Vajra, Dorje, and Banza. In the Tang esoteric translation, the particular Vajra is translated into Chinese as Vajradhatu or Vajra. So he kept on repeating it for a few times, that he was very joyful when he noticed this name and made the connection to Vajradhatu. I'm not lying about it. I do feel that I have a deep connection with you people here. That was formed in our previous lives. I truly appreciate your invitation letter, which turned out to play a crucial role in helping me communicate effectively with the Chinese and American embassies. Nowadays, I think we still have a rather very subtle and interesting relationship. Some may say that it's difficult to describe, but that's how the relations between different nations are. It could be good and not so good between times. And then he continued to say that, as well as other government departments, so that I could get a visa successfully. In addition to the great effort to invite me here, you also sponsor the airline tickets. Now maybe we feel that airline tickets is nothing, but back then to us the airline tickets still are considered as quite a big budget, and it would be very difficult for us to raise that money, as well as all kinds of expenses, including food and accommodations. Many of you may consider that it is quite a rich country, a prosperous country, but when we actually went there, we noticed that those centers also face different kinds of challenges, and it's not easy for them. That is why whenever I travel abroad or even domestically, I never let any center to pay for my visit. I pay for my own travels every time whenever I have the capacity. And then Phuntsok Rinpoche Phuntsok Rinpoche also over here extended his deep gratitude. He said that for all your kind assistance, I hold sincere and deep gratitude in my heart. Well, whenever you have time, I really hope that you can reread this by yourself, because my reading of Chinese is not that proficient. It's not that great, especially my expressions and my tone is probably not as good as some of you who can perform it much better. Well, during your mentoring, during your post-class discussion and mentoring sessions, I think you can spend maybe 10, 20, or maybe 25 minutes so that you can have the time to each share the opportunity and give each other presentations. Whenever you have the opportunity, you can have the group presentation, and then you can have the one-to-one presentation, so you have the opportunity to practice. If necessary, you can try to read this by yourself, because I really feel that I didn't do a good job in reading. After Choji finished his talk, Khenpo Namdro summarized the Dharma activities in these few days in Boulder, and then said the following words. Over the past few days, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche gave many supreme and precious teachings, and I'm sure that we all have greatly benefited. I am a Khenpo at Ngagir Nyingma Institute of Namdro Dharma Monastery in southern India. In order to improve the overall quality of our students in learning and practice of the Dharma, I went to Larungar 3 times to receive teachings from Rinpoche. Khenpo Namdro went to Tibet 3 times. The first time was in the 80s and the 90s and 93 as well. He relied on Phuntsok Rinpoche to study both the esoteric and exoteric teachings. He only received empowerments of the illusory net from Pinna Rinpoche, but not the teaching. So he would come to Larungar to receive the oral transmission of the illusory net, and then go back to Namdro Buddhist Institute to teach. I think I also talked about it back in 2011. Khenpo Namdro give teachings on the Manjushri practice, and especially the one that we practice this year. He has lots of faith. And then he said that that time His Holiness Pinna Rinpoche appointed me as the attendant to accompany Khenpo Rinpoche to this entire trip. Staying in our center and being with you for these few days, I can feel your strong conviction and devotion, as well as your deep interest in the Dharma. This truly makes me joyful. On the other hand, although some of you may have been adept in learning and practice the Dharma compared to practitioners in traditional Tibetan Buddhist academies, I would say that there is still some room for improvement. Traditionally, Tibetan practitioners adhere to the guidelines listed in the sutras and shastras, observing a guru before making a decision on whether to follow this teacher or not. In the West, however, it seems that most people would like to make such a decision merely based on teachers' words. As a matter of fact, there are all kinds of teachers in terms of their knowledge, training, and spiritual attainment. If a teacher does not have sufficient knowledge knowledge of sutras or tantras, it will be somewhat risky to rely on him. Over the years, you have been properly engaging the Dharma study and practice embracing Nima and Kagyu teaching without bias. I hope you will come to practice both Dzogchen and Mahamudra in the future, as you have always done. And then after Kamandro's remark, Vajradhatu representative expressed their gratitude to Yijin Norway as well. His Holiness, you said that when you received the letter from Vajradhatu that you had a great joy in your mind. When we heard your name, actually, Khenpo Jigme Phuntsok, we had the same experience, and when we saw your picture, it was the same. This is such a miracle. In fact, many in Canada also made the same remark. So they also made the remark and sent to him lots of wishes. If you're going to be the general in Shambhala under the king who will have been Trungpa Rinpoche, I would like to now volunteer all of us to be your warriors. Thank you again and again. And then Lama Mentso conferred the Manjushri empowerment to everyone. And with that, the Dharma activities in Boulder were completed.